Not that very many people will share my video of the last video I did about everybody needing to share in the responsibility of these fatality accidents. I have sat here thinking about a few more things that really gets under my skin with the general public. I own my own business, okay? If you own your own business as a carpenter or a concrete guy or whatever it is, you don't have to put yourself on a consortium to get drug tested at any moment in time that they want. If you get into an accident with somebody, they don't drug test you. And I believe that anybody and everybody that is going to drive down the interstate, they need to declare if they're going to be interstate or if they're going to be intrastate. And they need to be subject to the same rules as any truck driver they want subjected to. Because I don't care if it's 80,000 pounds or 5,000 pounds. That four-wheeler is every bit as much of a deadly weapon as any semi. If you kill people, you get to do it with impunity. If you cause a wreck to that truck, you're at fault in the wreck for the truck. You don't carry enough insurance to cover the trucker's cost. I've been through 2 accidents that I had drivers in that both were illegal aliens and they didn't have any insurance. The government and all of you need to start fighting for what's right and y'all want fair and equal treatment and equal rights. Then anybody that has a driver's license in this nation, I don't care, from a learner's permit on, y'all ought to have to pay for a consortium, have your name in a pool, and any time that they call for you to come and give a drug test, you need to go and give a drug test, and you need to pay the money to do that, just like anybody else that's in the trucking world. Every trucking company, it don't matter if you own it or you work for somebody else, they have to pay a consortium to have either their employees drug tested or themselves drug tested. And I don't hear any of y'all fighting about that. And do you know how many of you fruitcakes I see driving down the interstate with your marijuana cigarettes in your hands and your marijuana vape pens in your hands? Even though I would say 90% of the trucking force uses no illicit drugs, that don't mean that we can't recognize when you people are driving by us in our semis and we see you driving down the interstate at 90 mile an hour smoking your pot. And you can call the highway patrol on them, and it's just amazing. Nothing, you never see them stopped, you never see anything. But if you call the highway patrol on a semi, by God, they got that semi stopped within inside of 10 miles. And I'm real tired of the double standards that everybody has out there on this. You can go out and drive like a bunch of fucking idiots and get away with everything, and if you cause accidents, it ain't no big deal. You don't have to carry no insurance to protect the trucking company. You just have to protect yourself. And then whatever your shortfall is, the trucking company's insurance has to pick that up. And it's raised our rates through the roof while you guys complain about having to pay $100 a month. Well, pay $1,000 a month for insurance, and you've never made a claim one on your insurance, other than if somebody else made you have to make a claim because they didn't have the insurance. I'm real tired of it. The interstate was not built for personal conveyance or personal use. It was built for the military and shipping. And as far as I'm concerned, that's what it needs to go back to. The only people that should be allowed on the interstate are the people conducting interstate business. Y'all ought to have to be on the 2-lane highways, and you should not be allowed on the interstate. It just should not be allowed. That was not the design of the interstate system. It was nothing more than to ship commerce and to ship the military from one end of the nation to the next. And you guys need to start calculating all of your miles that you're driving and reporting those miles and reporting the gallons that you're buying to make sure that you are paying for that highway, just like the trucking companies have to do. We have to keep track of every mile we drive on an interstate or a highway, and we got to report every gallon of fuel that we buy in the states we buy it in, and then we're told either we're owed tax or we owe it. And you guys drive around out here on these roads all the time. With your, even, I'm even mad about the farmers that get away with it. Everybody should have to be paying their equal share of the road tax to keep these roads in order. And then the government needs to be held accountable as to what they're doing with those funds with these roads, because these roads are absolutely junk anymore. And you guys don't have any weight limits that you have to follow. And it's if you want to stop the wrecks and you really want everybody to get home alive every day, then y'all have the general public. There are way more cars of you out on the interstate every day and on the highways than there are trucks. And quite honestly, because of the video cameras that every truck keeps nowadays, it's being found out more and more exactly who's at fault, and it ain't so easy to blame the trucker anymore. Y'all drive just... law enforcement really needs to start cracking down on all of you, okay? That's a fact. And if one guy falls asleep and has an accident, by God, he's the devil. He's the worst person to ever live. But if you all do the same thing and you cause that trucker to crash and pile up in the ditch and he dies or gets fired, nobody makes no video about that. Nobody cares about any of that stuff. So quit talking about things that you don't understand. And bonehead truckers, you're an idiot. You really are. You are just dumber than dog shit, man. You act like you're a trucker. You ain't no trucker. They threw you out of a fucking truck, bud. If you was in a truck, you wouldn't have time to sit every day and make them videos. You're a fat slob, and you don't know what the fuck you're talking about.